There we go. Welcome, everyone. This is the Monday, August 29th meeting of the Committee on Development and Government Relations. My name is Tessa Murphy-Romboletti. I'm the chair, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's 6:32. We are being broadcast on Channel 15, the public access station. We're on Zoom. We are also live here in the City Council chambers. And with me this evening, I have our Vice Chair, Councilor Bartley, and we have Councilor McGivern and Councilor Vacan. Joining us on Zoom, we have Councilor MALDONADO VELEZ. And we also have some special guests this evening. We have some folks that will be presenting this evening. And we have City Councilor Givner is also joining us on Zoom. I think that's it. Okay. So,
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to take one off the table and open the public hearing.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. So tonight's public hearing is for a special permit application for, I'm hoping I say this right, Betlai LLC. It's to reuse the existing building and abutting parking lot for the proposed development of a White Hut restaurant at 825 Hampden Street and Pleasant Street, which are parcels 092, 00, 111, and 112. So we are joined this evening, I believe, Alexandra Cicchetti? Cicchetti, I was close.
Very close, yeah. Good evening, everybody. My name is Alexandra Cicchetti from Arlovec Associates, here tonight on behalf of Mr. Edison Yee and Nicholas Yee from Betlai LLC. I would like to share my screen with your permission in order to show the plan that we have proposed.
I believe Jeffrey can do, yep, there we go.
Okay, so we'll start by just giving a quick description of the description that you've already given on what we're proposing. There is an existing bank building on parcel 825 Hampden Street that they'll be using for a proposed White Hut restaurant. The abutting parcel on Pleasant Street, which you read the parcel ID off, which is 092-00-112, is the abutting parking lot that they are proposing to use as well. Tonight we're before the committee for a special permit on the use regulation under section 4.3 of the table of principal uses within the Holyoke zoning ordinance. The proposed project requires a special permit with the city council. Said section classifies a fast food restaurant within the limited business zoning district as a use authorized under a special permit with the city council as provided under section 9.3. At this point, we're solely just requesting for a special permit for the use of the existing building to be proposed for a White Hut. At this time, I'll take any questions that the city council or committee has and open up the floor.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. And with that, I'm going to, for folks that are tuning in, and just, in case you're not familiar with the process, we're going to open it up to the committee members who are here this evening. And then we'll also open it up to other city council questions. And then last, we will offer the public the opportunity to ask any questions. The purpose of a special hearing is to just get a better understanding for us of what the project entails, and to make sure, as written in our zoning ordinance, determine that the benefit is to the city and neighborhood and that it outweighs the adverse effects of the proposed use. So with that, I'm going to see if there are any specific questions from my committee members.
I'll go first.
Okay, Councilor Bartley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the summation by the chair. Appreciate the summation by the petitioner. And as I say almost religiously to anyone making an investment to City of Holyoke or potentially, thank you very much to the Levesque firm, and of course, thank you much to the Yee family for what you're contemplating. It's very exciting. I looked over the application pretty closely, and I probably do have a question or two on it. I just want to point out for the public that this is, we did rezone them in June of this year from an R2 to a limited business requirement, but nevertheless, under limited business, our ordinance, zoning ordinances require a special permit for fast foods. And as the chair said, special permits have their time and place. And I know quite often these days they get criticized, and they get criticized, in my opinion, because city council is issuing the special permit, but that's actually set in law, and it's done for a reason. It's done for a reason so the city councilors, the people's body, can ask questions, which I'm about to ask. But I just want to give that little bit of, a very gentle, soft little bit of background, because as the chair said, we want to see, even though we changed the zone, the special permit is there to make sure that the positive outweighs the negative for the neighborhood and the city as a whole. And I think, if I'm going to start out with this way, I'm a strong believer that it does, that this is a fantastic proposal, and it's really kind of keeping the momentum going in that area. And I want to thank also the ordinance chair that's here for her, in particular, her leadership for another project that's proximate to there, because but for that, I don't know what's going to happen. That being said, Mr. Ketty, thank you for being here. Your proposal is interesting in that we changed the zone, and I said it 1,000 times. Zone is parking, noise, traffic lights, or sometimes odors. That's basically it. That's how you get a zone change. You got to overcome this. In this particular case, we have a couple of special permits, and you also have a special permit or two going in another forum in this city, specifically the planning board. So the planning board gets a bite at the apple as well. So again, this is just for public consumption. But what you're saying in your application is that, if I read it right, the city ordinances require a certain number of parking spaces, and in your application to the planning board, special permit application, you're looking for consideration to waive that and to have fewer parking spaces. So I want you to talk that out with me a little bit on the parking. Why is it that you think the city ordinances are not appropriate in this case? And I'm gonna follow up from there. But let me get your take on that, please.
Absolutely. So I'll just start by saying that we did request for a special permit for a parking reduction with the City of Holyoke Planning Board. We're happy to say that public hearing opened on, I believe it was, I have this down, August 9th actually, and it was approved by the planning board. So on the lot, there is a requirement for, I believe, if I'm correct, we usually have a parking table. Just bear with me. So you guys can see it if it's available on a screen. So the parking requirement under the City of Holyoke ordinance is one space for 40 square foot of gross floor area, requiring a total of 47 spaces. As you can see, there's a total of 16 spaces being provided, and as proposed and was fortunately approved by the planning board. That said, it's going to be a takeout restaurant, so it's going to be a frequent in and out, and the planning board did offer a condition which states that we need to do a look back period after 6 months, and if it's not working out that well, then we'll have to do some renting spaces from Dunkin' Donuts across the street. So as far as what I'm answering from you is how we are kind of following the zoning ordinance. We're significantly less in parking spaces, but due to the fact that it is a takeout restaurant and fast food, we'll have patrons in and out at that point.
Okay, how many, first off, that's good news. The planning board is the planning board going to issue a written opinion on this as explaining the reasoning for cutting the requirement from 47 to 16?
I believe what they'll do is they'll issue a decision with some special conditions, such as that look back period. And I believe that they were going to be doing another condition for a bike rack to be located on site as well.
Of course they are. Okay. Certainly I'd want to see, I want a review of that opinion. I wouldn't make it a condition, but I certainly want to, before I take a vote on this, which sounds like it mightn't be Thursday, I certainly want to see that opinion. Mr. Keddy, is that been issued?
I'm not sure if Jeff Burkott I don't believe Jeff Burkott has sent us anything over that the planning board has written up yet. I would have to assume that they would be writing up that decision at their next meeting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe their next meeting is scheduled for September 6th. So if you guys are putting your vote in on Thursday, I think the next meeting is scheduled for September 6th.
Right. I don't know.
They should have had another meeting on the 23rd of August. So they could have written it up then. Our company has just not yet received that decision.
Okay. I don't, and I'm not, this is just rhetorical, but I don't know what the law requires of them. So I guess maybe our administrative assistant would have a minute to look that up. I don't think there's anybody from the law department here, unfortunately. And they probably have a certain amount of time by which to issue a report, but we'll leave that to the side.
Understood.
Just would you explain the 6-month portion of that again for me, please?
So I believe I was not the one present at the meeting. I know that Edison and Nick were there. So Edison and Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that as part of the special conditions for the decision that the planning board is going to be releasing on the property, they're requiring something like a look back period, which after 6 months, they'll, I guess, assess how the parking is going. And if they feel the need to warrant that Edison and Nick rent out spaces from Dunkin' Donuts, then those would be additional spaces that would need to be provided at that point in time.
This is Edison, and Nick is on the call as well. Nick, you were on that last meeting in that session. Can you recite what happened on that meeting?
Yes, I could. It's exactly what Alexandra just said. So after 6 months, they're going to take a look back to see how the parking issue is, and if there is an issue, then we would have to rent some spaces from local across the street, actually. So yeah, if that's the case, they're going to just come back and look at it if there's any issues arising within that 6 months period.
Yeah, Nick, Dave Bartley here. Nick, just for the record, why don't you just give your name and address, and then we just can move on. I have a question for you.
Yep, Nicholas Yee. I live on 41 Briarwood Drive in Holyoke.
Nick, and again, thank you, and Edison, good to hear your voice too. Nick, the planning board, did they indicate the criteria they would use or the methodology they would use to assess the parking?
No, there was nothing like that. It was just a broad overview of the parking. If it's gonna, within the 6 month period, if there's gonna be any issues, then, they're gonna follow up with that afterwards.
Okay, I mean, again, this is rhetorical as well. I would imagine, being the professionals that they are, that they would, in their written report, they would describe how they would go about assessing this. I've never heard this in my career, but I'm sure it happens all the time. Nick, regarding the lot across the street, which Hampton's a fairly narrow street, but at the same time it's a pretty heavily trafficked street, especially at peak hours. It's really heavily trafficked. On top of that, there's a sun field that beams down there, certainly for rush hour, I guess, if I'll leave it at that. What if anything did the planning board have to say if you have to get parking spaces? What did they say about safety controls? I mean, are they going to have you petition the city council for a crosswalk? Are they just going to direct everybody right to the crosswalk that's already there across Hampden Street? What if anything did they say about safety?
Nothing really. It was actually a pretty quick meeting. The only concern, again, was going back to see if there were any issues, going back 6 months, within the 6-month time frame, and then they would follow up and, rent additional parking spaces. We had talked about MELS as well for our staff, parking our staff over at MELS.
Yeah, thanks. Just Nick or Edison, just on the, just through the chair to Nick or Edison, just on the restaurant itself, knowing the White Hut like as we do in West Side, it's basically in and out. And do you envision, because I see you have a patio with this particular one, which is kind of a nice, sounds like a potentially nice feature, but of course that leads to people, staying for a minute. And so what's the vision for the interior of the restaurant in terms of seating?
Just basically stand-up seating. I don't know if you've been to the White Hut in West Springfield.
Probably 400 times.
Actually, yeah, I was there just, today. So just grabbing a quick burger. I think the ticket time was roughly about 4 minutes. And then, some people decide to stay there and eat their burger quickly and leave, or they just take it to go. So it's, again, the ticket times are relatively short. So it's just a lot of in and out movement. Nothing prolonged.
Yeah, and I think in this case the planning board's onto something. Although I wish they'd had I never heard of the 6-month rule for one, but they operate under the same rules we operate under for zoning. So they have 9.3.2, so they can make reasonable restrictions. But I kind of liken this to Nick's Nest, where that's they have maybe 10 or 12 stools, but that's basically in and out. And how many parking spaces do they have? Probably the same number, right? Probably 10, 15 that you have, and that's mainly cars that are going there. Although certainly a lot of neighborhood people visit that place too. But all right, one last thing for the moment, Nick. Just have you reached out to the owners of Dunkin' Donuts just to sort of assess their willingness to lease you space should the eventuality arise?
I know that some parties of our team on our team had tried to reach out and contact them as well. I have not received. I haven't talked to them about that just recently, because I just got back from vacation. So
Hawaii.
I wish.
Swiss Alps. No.
But I know that somebody on our team had reached out, and I can confirm with that when I speak with them this week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Bacon, yep, absolutely.
Thanks. I think this is sort of an easy one from my perspective, because at the time of the zone change, we had so much discussion about what your project would be, even though we know that by the book, we do not make the decisions based on the project. So really, for us, we're looking at the use and taking into consideration the things that you addressed well in the application under the 9.3 section. And I think because we're talking about a known quantity, if you will, with the comparable right there in West Springfield, for me, this is a pretty straightforward yes vote. And as Councilor Bartley so nicely does, welcoming the business to the city and your investment. And so I look forward to supporting it, and I feel confident it will be a successful addition down there. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor McGivern.
Thank you, Chair Murphy Ramboletti. Welcome, and after listening to Councilor Bartley summarize everything that the you as developers are going through, I just want to echo his words and say thank you for still being with us, because it's incredible the hoops that Hoyok's will make people jump through. Councilor Bacon, summed it up perfect. And thankfully to your transparency in the zoning change hearing, we understood a lot about what the project is about, and so did the neighborhood, and I think that makes a big difference. And our decision tonight to get to the city council, hopefully by Thursday, is this a appropriate use within the zone as designed to do by special permit? And I think all the questions have been answered. I have a couple of minor questions. Alexandra or Nick or Edison, with the nature of the business, people coming and going very quickly, is part of the staff going to be available to make sure that the lot and the immediate sidewalks are kept clean?
I can answer that. This is Edison. And yes, they will be made available to go out there on a regular basis to make sure the rubbish is not flying around the parking lot, to make sure that the barrels are empty. They do that on a regular basis now in West Springfield, and we do everything from blowing the leaves to make sure the eating areas are nice and clean, to making sure all the garbage areas are very neat looking. And as a matter of fact, in West Springfield, we just put up a nice little fenced-in area for both the cardboard and dumpster, and it looks really nice now. So yes, we will keep the exterior very clean.
Thank you, Edison. I've been to White Hut, not the 400 times Councilor Bartley has been this year, but but I've always appreciated the land and the property in West Springfield, as well as the hamburgers themselves. The parking, I'm just more interested because the planning board certainly has the upper hand on that, on the parking part. The employees going to park on site, or are employees going to be encouraged to carpool, or would they be the ones that would be parking across the street if necessary?
If necessary, again, this is Edison. If necessary, they will be the ones that are parking off-site and leaving the immediate parking spaces on our lot at 825 Hampden available for all customers.
And my final question is, when will we be able to go in and get a White Hut hamburger?
We're keeping our fingers crossed for the spring of 2023.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to pause and see if any of the counselors on the call currently have any questions. I don't see any hands raised. And then last, but certainly not least, I'd like to, I believe we have a hand raised from the public. And so at this time, we don't have anyone from the public here in council chambers, but anyone tuning in on Zoom, feel free to raise your hand. And first here I see Faisal. Please make sure you state your name and address for the record, and we'll go from there. Go for it.
Hi, am I on?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure it's my first time doing this, but my name is Faisal Sibdani. I live right, parallel to where you guys are hoping to make this establishment.
Can you state your address for the record, please?
65 Taylor Street in Holyoke.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you for, looking to put this project here in our area, and I'm looking forward to seeing that it goes through. But I just had one question in regards to, there is a sign outside there that used to belong to the People's Bank. It was it's a digital sign, and it's currently functioning. It has the time and it displays the temperature. So I was wondering if you had any plans in keeping that, or I don't know if that belonged to the bank or what, and if you were able to say anything about it.
Yes, President, this is Edison. We do have plans to keep that sign there. We are going to replace the People's Bank logo on there and recreate a nice white hut looking sign, and we will be keeping the time and temperature on there as well.
All right, perfect. I mean, it's just been in the city so long, and I mean, it's not really like a landmark, but it's just been there as long as I can remember, and I would like to see that get taken down.
Great.
No, we plan to keep it there.
Okay, all right. That was my only question. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you guys open soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I am not seeing any other hands, Jeffrey. Am I correct in that?
I see no other hands either.
Okay, so sorry, Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear from the public and on that one. Just through the chair, Edison, can you tell me the hours that we're thinking about?
Yes, we in West Springfield right now we run 2 sets of hours. Really, they open daily at 6:30 a.m. for the breakfast dinner service or the breakfast service. And then they stay open till 6 p.m. in the wintertime and 7 p.m. in the summer.
And so what are we saying? We're going to do something similar in Holyoke?
Yes, yep.
All right. And then just because I don't recall seeing a patio on the west side. How many seats are we going to have in the patio here in Holyoke?
We have not laid out the actual seating in the patio over in Holyoke yet. But in West Springfield, there is a patio that seats, has 4 tables of 6 people. And they're never full to capacity. They're just really there for some of the patrons who want to eat outside, and it really became kind of important for us during the period of COVID. And to this day now, they still use it. It always has been there, but it's very, let's say, quick like it is inside. They're just eating and going.
Thank you.
So I also just want to thank you for coming in this evening. I will reiterate what folks say, that we really truly appreciate your investment in the city, and your plans to come here are very exciting. I am curious, one thing is your application talks about creating new jobs within the community. Do you have an estimate of how many jobs this endeavor will create?
We estimate that it will create about 15 jobs. That's both full and part-time total.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. And just thank you for a very straightforward proposal. It made our jobs easier, and just we appreciate your work and your patience. So I'm not seeing any other comments or questions. So
All right, well then, I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
And then if I can just ask a question of the committee.
Sure.
I'm just wondering if the committee thinks, based on the discussion of the cleanliness and the dumpster and the screening, do we need to make that a condition, or is that sort of a given in your minds? I'm just checking in.
My opinion would be that it seems like a given, that, it's especially based on section 9.3 and meeting those criteria, but I will
I'm just
defer to
checking in.
others.
I'm just
checking in.
checking in. It's
Councilor McGivern?
I agree with the chair. This is a unique type of special permit
Right.
you don't see often. It's more like an addition to the zone, which is about use, and the because there are so many other hoops that the developer has to abide by, including code enforcement and the other special permits for parking that they're looking, reduction that they're looking
Restaurant,
at.
everything else. Yeah.
This is just, does a fast food fit on this lot? And I think it, not only is it not detrimental to the community, to the neighborhood, it's actually a plus to the
good,
neighborhood because we hate to see that building or that lot go vacant for a long period of time. And it's also, I think, a plus for the type of business it is, established and well-known. So I really would not look for any conditions on the special permit other than addressing the use and allowing it
Because it is
in
a
the zone.
different nature. No, I appreciate that. I was just checking it.
Oh, Councilor Bartley?
Yeah, I have a slightly different take on that under our zoning regulations, we certainly have the authority to make any reasonably related condition that we want to make. And look what the planning board did. So the planning board says, well, you don't need 47 spaces, you can have 16. But we're going to have a 6 month, we're going to assess, we'll look back after 6 months. Totally making it up. Completely and totally making it up. There's no standard by which they're going to assess the parking other than if they drive by and see it. There's nothing there at all. I'm not saying that's wrong because 9.32 is very broad. But in this case, I feel they probably don't need probably conditions on the permit, knowing the quality of the applicant as certainly as I do, and I think others probably do as well. So, I mean, normally we might give a condition about hours, but I don't, based upon what they're doing on West Side, I think they already have that down. You might think about making a condition about ensuring that the lights are not shining any, but it's where they have it laid out. It's really on the corner. Now there is residential directly across Pleasant Street from there. But again, knowing the quality of the petitioner as I do, I think if there was a complaint, I'm pretty positive that they would address it quickly. And I just think that the parking situation is unsettled. And if we've got a patio here and we've got a certain number of people are going to be staying there and it's COVID time, there is a potential to have a kind of an overload on cars, and we've got a very narrow street as it is. But there is a fair amount of on-street parking, and the hope is that the petitioner will sooner rather than later work out some kind of an arrangement with the Dunkin' Donuts owners for that back lot that I don't think they have a tremendous use for at the Dunkin' Donuts, and that they can work something out to at least have employees regularly parked there and sort of get ahead of that a little bit, because I can see this getting a fair amount of motor vehicle traffic, and certainly early days and certainly summer months. So and if that lot gets jammed up and then people start parking in the street, it really narrows that street, and that street has an issue with speeding and other things. And as I said earlier, it's not the safest street in the world, especially at when the sun's setting. So, but I don't know how you make a condition on a permit on that. I don't know how you could possibly be reasonable or fair to the applicant. But I'm saying that out loud just for whatever it's worth. Okay.
Cautionary tale.
Thank you. Yes. All right.
Well, then I guess I would like to make a motion that we approve this special permit.
Okay. And I do a roll call for this?
You
name-
don't have anybody on Zoom, right?
No.
I'll second the counselor's motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. The ayes have it. With that, we will be referring this to the full city council on Thursday. right? Yeah.
This is new territory to all of us. but
Okay.
Special meetings are not the way to do business.
No. Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion to take number 2 off the table, please, for discussion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Thank you,
opposed? So
everybody.
moved.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexandra,
you.
Nick, Edison.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
everybody.
Have a great night.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
So item number 2 on our agenda is a resolution filed by both Councilors Maldonado Velez and Councilor Jourdain. It is a resolution in support of eviction sealing to promote housing opportunity and mobility. And so I'm going to turn that over to, I see Councilor Maldonado Velez as the maker of the order. Would you like to tell us a little bit about this order?
Of course. Thank you, Madam Chair, and hello, councilors. Good evening. I'm sorry I'm not in the chambers. My neck is dying today, and yeah, it's been a long day, but I am here, and I'm glad that White Hot is going through. Anyways, as far as this specific resolution, so this is something that Katie from Neighbor to Neighbor actually approached me and Councilor Jourdain about, and then we ended up connecting about it, and really the biggest conversation we had around this between myself and Councilor Jourdain was that it just makes sense, trying to give as much protection to people as possible. So I know Councilor Jourdain's not here today, but hopefully he can come in Thursday and he has more thoughts around why he wanted to sign on with me, that he can then. But as far as on my end, so Holmes Act is, so it's a bill H.4505. It's an act promoting housing opportunity and mobility through eviction sealing. So what's happening right now is that as soon as an eviction case is filed, a tenant has an eviction record. And regardless of whether a tenant did something wrong or was actually evicted, the mere fact that they were a party to an eviction is publicly available, and even winning court hurts the tenants. So really what this is attempting to do is allow tenants facing no fault eviction to seal their records after the conclusion of the case, allow tenants to seal the case within 14 days of satisfying a judgment. For example, if they pay what is owed or non-payment case, allow tenants who face a fault eviction to seal their records after 3 years without another eviction case, and make it illegal for a tenant, screening company, or landlord to use or report a sealed court record. Right now, the tenants are not able to do anything. So like I said, even if they are on, it is a no cost, meaning for some reason the landlord had to move on the tenant. Even if it was a amicable sort of situation, just having that record still sort of seems to be a strike against them. And I'll be honest, as far as in Holyoke, I only know one person that had really the issue with the record, but I'm a believer that if there's one person speaking up, that just means there's other people that really are not, don't have the right to speak up. So it is something that affects our city and it affects our population. This is also something, Representative Duffy and Senator VELEZ are co-sponsors, and it's something that Mayor Garcia supports. I know the resolutions, again, at the local level, it's more of just a signal and a support at the state level. So I'm not trying to spend too much time on this tonight. Of course, I know we have a lot going on, but I just believe it's something that definitely affects our city. And that's something that our leaders in our city have believe is right. People that I've talked to in our city would love to see this, and I just want us to send us a message that Holyoke is behind this. That's where I'm at.
Thank you, Councilor. Yeah, of course. Councilor Bacon?
Thanks. I haven't read this closely, but so I totally understand the idea of not listing somebody who simply because they're in a process. But are there certain situations where it would be published, or is this saying in every situation it would be sealed?
So that was on the letter, that was one of Governor Baker. So he vetoed it originally, and then it got introduced. And one of his things was around, the reason why he vetoed it was, was concerned that landlords not knowing, for example, about criminal activity. So this is not something that it will just seal all of records across the board. It would seal those, again, that are like for example, no cost. So like
Okay.
one of the examples that was on here, that's like, again, if landlord comes in and they just want to change the use, or, and again, it's still
Right.
even a good relationship in their separation,
Right,
it's
right.
still a record that's
So
still
that,
there.
so they
It
don't
still
get that
affects them.
negative mark. But
For sure.
also, but it still maintains a balance for the landlords too. All right,
For sure.
okay. Thank you for the clarification. I just wasn't sure on that.
I do want to say, so there is a website, it's passthehomesAct.org, which has a lot of this information. So if y'all
Okay.
want some reading, you can go on.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments, questions from councilors? Councilor McGivern?
Thank you, Chair Murphy Ramboletti. Just real quick, thank the co-sponsors for this order. And I would just weigh in and say Massachusetts does a wonderful job of allowing, under the appropriate and right steps, criminal records to be sealed at the right time. Sometimes it's a time wait, sometimes it's accordingly to what they are. And they monitor it very well, and they do it in a way that I'm sure that this law too would be set up similar, and it makes sense. Because I will tell you, I had a landlord come to me once and tell me that he had to evict my mom and dad because of me. And I said, what? He says, yep, we had in the lease no children. You were born, so they were out. I don't know if it went on their record, but at least now we know it can come off the record.
Yeah, there you go. Councilor Bartley?
Yeah, I'll just
And
make
then
that.
actually, sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a quick point. I mean, like Councilor McGivern just, that's another point. Like these are also records that are 15, 20, 25 years that are still affecting them today. And also, like if children are named on these records, it can also affect them once they're adults as well. So it's, we all, we're all the city council, so we know there's no perfect system, but, we can work towards a better system. And I think this is one step.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Big Brother is watching.
Councilor Bartley?
Yeah, I did try to, first of all, I noticed there's in the sixth whereas, it says respectfully have been assigned to the Joint Committee and Judiciary for a hearing on July 16th, 2019. So that's been kind of been pending for a minute, and I don't know if there's an updated record. I tried to look up the bills, but I couldn't do it on my phone. I'm sure they're there, but I can only look up what's there for. So 35, 66, and 824. I can only look up what's in the 2022 session. So I guess I would like to see the bills. In paragraph 4, even children and minors named in eviction risk permanent records. I just don't think that's accurate. I don't think there's much truth to that, because they're at best their names would be sealed for any proceeding in Massachusetts law if you're under 18. So I don't see how that could possibly be true. And then I guess in number 7, I think I do agree with that. I mean, wait until a judgment's rendered and ensuring the accuracy of records. Well, in a fair world, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice if we all did that? Counselors and people, that we didn't rush to any kind of judgment, didn't file any orders, didn't make any comments until all the chips were laid down the table with the final judgment. Alas, that doesn't happen. But I hear that. I would only say one other thing is that I think I know the answer to this, but has any landlord been able to look at this or weigh in on this, or been? I realize our meetings are posted. I get it completely, but and I know we're on TV. I understand that too. But the likelihood that has anyone taken affirmative action, an affirmative step to reach out to a landlord relative to this, whether it's Holyoke Housing or Mount Holyoke Management or any of them? I mean, I think to a person, the one landlords I know are pretty reasonable people, and they're in the business of renting out. That's what they're in the business for. They want to give housing to people. I mean, if you can't, they're out of business if they can't find tenants. I would only say to the chair that that I mean, landlords, sometimes when you see a resolution such as this, you get maybe an unfair perspective on what they're about. And I think that, like in any business, some of them are great and some of them, you know, they aren't great. And but to say that they can't get a full picture of on an application, I would want to make sure that's the case. And that's why I'm guessing these bills are not law yet. Landlords certainly have pretty strong representation a lot of places, and I think, you know, listen, I want to be fair to the tenants. We heard a lot of tenants speaking at a hearing that we had just at this last meeting, if the chair recalls that, when we had
Sure do, yeah.
when we had somebody developing property. I mean, we know the city, but maybe some others from outside would call that a distressed neighborhood, and he wants to develop a new home, 4 units. And instead of getting thank yous, and maybe from this body they did, but, well, can't we have rent control? Can't we have, well, I mean, it's a tough enough business as it is. I would only say, look, if there's more details that the makers want to provide, I would certainly want to hear it. I would like a minute to at least read the website before taking a vote on this resolution. If the maker felt as though this could wait for a meeting to cycle by, I would appreciate that, unless there's an imminent vote in Boston coming up. I would ask that this be considered to be tabled for at least one meeting, so I could at least read the website and try to find out what's happening with the bills. So
Okay.
that's what I ask. Thank you.
Yeah, Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Chair. So I think it would just be a fair thing to get feedback from a couple of the landlords. Sure. I'm sure they're aware of this.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep, you know, over the last number of years saying how we want to be business friendly, and certainly we want to be looking out for our citizens, you know, and we all have to live together, right? So I just think if we do the outreach both ways and sort of give the assurance that, you know, that we're looking at this from a certain perspective, and we want to make sure we get their take on it in terms of effect, if
Sure.
any. I mean, maybe it would have none. But I think even just the asking sets a tone of being friendly.
Yeah, and I think my understanding is that there's not like a very time sensitive thing here. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Councilor
Yep.
McGivern, did you have your hand up?
All set.
All set? I'm totally open to that. I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. Councilor Maldonado Velez?
Yeah, no, I, you know, like the last resolution, I mean, by the way, so I know I'm not trying to just have resolutions every month, but just, these are two that, from the, like, the following the last one, these are two that were approached, and I just really believe in. But as far as for this one, yes, Councilor Bartley, like, same the last time I listened to some of the questions you had, because, like I've told other veterans counselors in the past, y'all have certain lessons and knowledge that I don't have, so appreciate the questions. I will definitely dig a little deeper, and I just hope that we can at least get it out of committee within the next DGR committee.
Sure. Okay.
All right, so I'll offer a motion to table it.
Second? Is there a
Counselor
second?
Bartley's-
I'll second it.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
The motion to adjourn is in order.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, everyone, for your support.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Have a great evening.